Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today what I want to do is I want to discuss Digimon World 3, or as we have in Europe is Digimon World 2003. I just want to give my thoughts and opinions on the game as it's something that people have often asked me. So yeah, if you're new around here, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and let's get into it. Digimon World 3 is the third game in the series for the PS1. It was released in the summer of 2002 for Japan and the US, while Europe wouldn't receive it until November that year under the name Digimon World 2003. The reason for the name change is because Europe never seen a release for Digimon World 2, and keeping the original name just wouldn't make sense. The Japanese and European versions, being the later versions of the game to be released, had some extra content in the form of post-game as well as some bug fixes. Though it was only released a month prior to the Japanese version, it's unsure as to why the US version is missing the post-game content. So for me, Digimon World 3 is actually a decent Digimon game. I actually really enjoy it. I have a great time when I sit down and play it. Now, it does have a couple of things that really bug me, but they're not too major. So before I get into all that, I just want to kind of give a brief kind of description on the game itself. So Digimon World 3 is a traditional JRPG that obviously features Digimon. We play as character Junior and we adventure through the digital world, which is actually a Digimon game that they're playing through. So it's a little bit of like gameception there, whatever is going on. But yeah, we've also got Ivy and Teddy going to traverse through the digital world with us and kind of go on a little bit of an adventure and see what unfolds as we get to play the game. We start by entering the arcade and going through a system to actually get into the digital world. We finally get to pick our Digimon. So here we get to choose our starters and we get offered 3 packs of 3 Digimon. We've got the Balance Pack, the Powerful Pack, and the Maniac Pack. Me, I generally go with the Powerful Pack just because I really enjoy Agumon. He's probably my favorite Digimon, so yeah, I always pick that one. The other Digimon that you can get are actually pretty much all the Digimon that you can actually recruit, except for Vmon, who is a secret Digimon. You have to do a side quest to get throughout the game. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And that leads me into probably my first kind of like thing that I don't like about the game. It's just the roster of Digimon that you can actually raise is very small. I don't know if this is down to because they had to animate sprites for each rookie that they traverse around the world with you, or what's going on there, but for me, I don't know, it just felt a little bit lackluster. So yeah, once we have our Digimon, we can actually head off into the digital world where we're kind of briefed on the game and how it's going to play out. What we're to do here is we have to travel around. This going to sound very familiar. We have to travel around the digital world and take out gym leaders and get their gym badges. Yeah, it's kind of taken from Pokemon here, I will admit that, but I'm going to get a little bit more into that in a second. As we play through the game, obviously we're going to see like AOA, which is kind of like the Team Rocket organization for the digital world. And then we've also gotten how the battles and stuff are laid out. Battles are laid out pretty much like you would expect to see in Pokemon, where you see your Digimon from the back and off to the side, then in front of you, you've got your opponent Digimon. It is, to be honest, it's very Pokemon-esque. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I honestly think this is, if you've seen my video where I spoke about Digimon's kind of like Resident Evil references in the original Digimon World game, I think that's what they're doing here. So basically in that was they took a hit game and they just made a whole area based off of it or whatever and just kind of like paid homage to Resident Evil. And I feel like that's what they're doing here. I think they're just giving a nod to Pokemon and saying, look, if you enjoy that game, there's a chance you're really going to enjoy us because we can do stuff like that too, but we're also going to stand out because we're a little bit different. Now that's not to say the entire game is a complete rip-off of Pokemon. It's also got some Digimon stuff kind of mixed in there that you will know it is a Digimon game. It does separate itself enough, I feel like. So the first thing I want to talk about is actually just exploring the world, because that's the one thing we're going to be doing straight away. And you're going to find, if you travel too far ahead, you're going, like any JRPG, you're going to run into enemies that are just way too strong for you, so you obviously have to give a little bit of a focus on leveling up. And this is where a lot more issues come into the game for me. Through battles, you can obviously Digivolve, you can learn different Digivolutions, different techniques or whatever, and that's really cool. But I find actually leveling up for me just as kind of a little bit annoying. It's more of a nitpick. They just don't know how much more experience you need to get to that next level. In most games, you'll say you've got, I don't know, like 100 experience, you need like 20 more to get to your next stage. In this, we don't have that. It just shows literally just the number for the experience that we got, and that is it. This is kind of annoying because obviously you can't kind of just, you know, plan. I like to have it in my head of like how long I'm gonna be here, and given that like difference, that's what that does for me, is that I know how long I'm gonna be grinding for a bit. But this kind of gives that, I don't know, it kind of like makes it seem it takes a lot longer. Again, this is just a nitpick. It's not really a huge deal. So moving out from the first city, we're going to start our exploration. Now, exploration in Digimon World 3 is an absolute nightmare, I will say. It's not that I don't enjoy traveling around the digital world. I think it's genuinely a fun world. It's nice, vibrant. You know, there's a lot going on there that we can kind of see, and it's like keeps our interest just because it's so different in some cases. But what I will say about the exploration is that there's so much backtracking in this game, it gets so annoying. You even find out straight away from literally your very first couple of missions, you're going to find you're going back and forth between the first and second city so often, and you don't feel like you're really progressing. But at the same time, because there's such a big different distance between both cities, it just feels like it takes forever. There isn't really a proper fast travel system that comes up in this game. There are ways to kind of like, I don't know, shorten the distance you have to travel, and we can get that through Digimon, Submerimon, which are the armored Digivolutions that we can kind of recruit, I suppose, in a way, and they're just used as vehicles for us to traverse the digital world in different areas. So if we're using Submerimon, we're going to go underwater. If we're using Digimon, we go underground. Digimon is more so to get us between different servers, where Submerimon is more so to get us from one checkpoint to another. Like I say checkpoints, not from like A to B, because you don't really get to choose where you're wanting to go. It's not like a traditional RPG or JRPG where you can kind of like just click and just go there, or just kind of like speed things up by going over an overworld map. This just breaks it up into the little segments that are going to cut out extra bits. There's still going to be random battles that we have to go through, which is a little bit of a headache, and some of the random battles in this game can be fairly difficult. Also, just with the frequency of random battles, they can come up an awful lot, like to the point where you barely take a step and a battle will come straight in again. So it can make things take so much longer, even though it's still trying to like cut things down and make things a little bit easier for the player. I still don't feel it really does that. So I mentioned how frequent battles come up, and battles, to be fair, at least they're fun. That's one thing I will say, is battles are genuinely a fun thing to play in this game, as because that's where the whole Digimon style really kind of shines, with Digivolution, all the different techniques, Jogris. There's a ton in here for us. So starting off, we have our basic attacks, we got our special attacks, and then we've got techniques that you can learn at different stages and pass down to other stages. This is a really cool kind of feature, especially if you've got like just gotten to Greymon and you have I don't know, Flame Ball, but you've also digivolved into Growlmon, who doesn't have Flame Ball, and you kind of just want to pass that move from one to the other so that you don't have to grind up through those levels to learn that move again. And this also means that you can actually use Growlmon because he has a decent moveset. And like I was saying with Digivolution, as you beat battles, you're going to gain the experience, which eventually will unlock different Digivolutions. The other thing that these Digivolutions can do is you can use them to Jogris in the middle of a battle. So Jogris, or DNA Digivolution, is when you've got two Digimon that make up one cool Digimon. Now, unfortunately, this isn't like a permanent like DNA Digivolve that you've got like for the whole battle. You've only got it for one turn, so it does also cost a little bit of MP to do as like almost like a special move. But it does mean that when you switch out from one Digimon to the other, it means that you're also not going to be just wasting a turn on just switching out a Digimon, like kind of what you do in Pokemon. You pull out one Pokemon to put in another one, that's your turn. When you DNA Digivolve, you actually get a hit in as well, because you also get them to Digivolve to a slightly higher level, so you're going to do an extra little bit of damage in there too. Just the Digivolution sequence for this is just so reminiscent of the DNA Digivolution sequence from 0-2, and I absolutely love that. I lost my fucking mind when I first seen it. I thought it was so cool. Especially as when I played this game, I must have been, I want to say I was about 15 or 16, so it was way after all this stuff. So when I first got to play this game and I seen this, it brought back so many memories of watching XVmon and Stingmon DNA Digivolve. I don't know, I just thought it was so sick. It actually made me want to go back and watch 0-2 again. So yeah, that's one thing I really enjoy about this. Actually, there's one thing I really love about Digimon anyways that isn't really done a lot. I don't think it's been done since then, other than in Digimon Story, where we could Digivolve in the middle of a battle. Actually, I'll lie, Supercross was one as well, but yeah, you could Digivolve in the middle of a battle. Very few Digimon games actually do that, especially when we see it so much in the anime. I think it just makes sense to have it in the video games as well. So while we're talking about Digivolution, there's also another way to Digivolve in the middle of a battle. Besides just having your Digimon Digivolve when they're in there, or Jogris, we can actually Digivolve by taking hits or whatever. So we've got the thing in the top corner, it's called a blast gauge, and as we take hits, it's going to fill up. We can also use items to actually give this an extra boost, so it fills up even faster. And where this comes in handy is those lengthy boss battles. So when we're really like taking a ton of hits, and it's also we're kind of struggling, we can actually warp Digivolve to our final form, even though it's not unlocked yet. And that's really cool because we get to actually keep that Digimon out for the entire the entirety of that battle, which is really cool because we also get access to some of their movesets. So like I said, sir, there's an awful lot of Digimon stuff and Digivolution stuff in the middle of a battle that'll keep us interested, though that will not take away from how annoying it is that you're going to have to deal with these every couple of steps. So for anyone that remembers Digimon World 1, we could actually collect Digimon cards. We could buy them, we can get them in the vending machines, we could trade them. There was a lot we could do there, but the one thing we couldn't do is battle, and this kind of bothered me because Digimon is kind of known for the amount of different variations of card games we've had back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Like, there was a lot. We had Hyper Coliseum, which was in Japan. We had Digital Card Battle, which had a PlayStation version, which was completely different to the physical version we had. There was an awful lot. But then on top of that, we also had a version of the card game that we got exclusively to Digimon World 3. Now, Digimon World 3, I will say, has actually got one of the more fun card games for me. I really enjoyed this one. Maybe not as much as the PS1 version, but I still really have a lot of fun when I'm playing this. So we can play the Digimon card game in Digimon World 3 by going into the TCG store and battling some people at a table, or we can also battle randomers in the middle of a field where they might offer us a battle between a one-on-one with our Digimon, or we could play against each other with cards. And so we can get more cards by winning these battles against other tamers, buying singles in the store, or if we've done a side quest to get the kicking boots from Vmon. The kicking boots will actually allow us to kick trees where we have a chance to find a rare Digimon called Cardmon. Now there's several different versions of Cardmon in Digimon World 3 and they all have different variations how they look, but also what they drop. So Cardmon will always drop a booster pack if you beat them, and you can actually get Divermon in the middle of a city to open up these packs for you, and you can kind of use them to customize your deck, which is another cool thing that you can actually like the extent of like customization in this, like having several decks or whatever for different situations, is just really cool. So yeah, it's pretty much everything there is to do in Digimon World 3. I say it's pretty much, but I mean there's still an awful lot you can do in that game. That game is just massive. I still enjoy it. Like I said, my main issue is the backtracking. The amount of backtracking that's involved, the lack of a proper fast travel system, it just really makes me not want to play it as much as another Digimon game that might be there. Another point for anyone that's been into the Cybersuit games or story games or whatever, I do recommend going back and checking out Digimon World 3, because I do believe Digimon World 3 is kind of like the precursor to all those games. I feel like there's a lot of elements taken from World 3 that were expanded upon for the new story games. I do think that in a way we could get a successor to World 3, like a proper successor, if they just gave those story games just like an open world to explore. It's the one thing that really bothers me about Cybersuit, which I'll probably go on again talk about another time, but yeah, I just feel like it needs to have an open world. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on Digimon World 3. Leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. Also like, subscribe if you haven't already. I plan on covering a lot more Digimon games and a lot more retro games in general. I've been on a massive retro binge lately. I do also want to cover a few other things like that here on the channel, so do keep an eye out, and I'll see you again. Bye bye.